Good evening, everyone, and thank you again for joining us for another Talk with Mom, Tuesday Talks with Mom. Becky and I are so excited to be here with a new friend, Leah Ferretti from Mississippi. Welcome, Leah.
Thank y'all for having me. I am so excited to be in the presence of some movers and shakers in this country. So thank y'all for having me. I'm so grateful.
Well, we are so glad that you took the time to join us and all the fellow moms and dads out there that are just looking for more information. And I personally was really excited. I think Becky too, but really excited to get to talk to somebody from Mississippi.
Okay, am
So
I your first person to ever talk to from Mississippi?
yes, well, not ever. I have family there, but I mean, in the realms of education, I mean, this is exciting.
Well,
You
guess
guys
what?
have been in the
Guess
news. Go
what?
ahead.
We wear shoes here, and we are really good at reading.
I love it. I know. Everybody's like, "Have you heard about Mississippi?" And I said, "Well, they do read. They do."
Yes, yes, we do. I do have a funny story about reading. I'm a teacher by
Uh-huh.
trade, a teacher, and when I first graduated, I moved to Southwest Florida, where no one from Florida lives. And I interviewed with a principal that was originally from New York, and as you can tell, I have a very Southern accent. And I am highly qualified to teach reading in Mississippi and Florida. And as a young little naive teacher, they asked me, how in the world can I teach children how to read if I couldn't speak correctly?
Oh my
And
god.
I died as a
Oh my
little
goodness.
4-year-old naive teacher. I was like, oh my goodness, they don't think I can speak correctly. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Obviously, it's a little trauma that impacted me, but we've moved on and we proved that we are really good at reading.
Yes, you are.
I love it. I love it. Well, Leah, thank you so much. Thank you for that little story. That's really cute. And thank you for joining us to share what is going on in Mississippi. But I would most importantly like to just hear a little bit about where you've been and what you've done and what's gotten you to this point. I know you're currently an AFC fellow. So if
Mhm.
you could just give me a brief background of your journey, and then we'll dive right into some new information that we'd like to cover that might be available for Mississippi.
All right, great. So my journey began over a decade ago when our oldest son, Thomas, who's now a 6'3", 245-pound offensive lineman, was in a second tour of kindergarten. Y'all know what that means, right? Like
Yes, we do.
he needed a little extra love.
Mhm.
And we held him back, not really knowing. And I'm a classroom teacher. I didn't know what was going on with my child. I just thought he needed another year, but that wasn't the case. So we had him tested, and it came back that he has dyslexia. What do you
Mm.
know? And did some research and figured out he needed Orton Gillingham therapy. We were in a public school. They couldn't service him. There wasn't a dyslexia therapist in the entire region where we lived in Mississippi. And so we had to fight tooth and nail to get an IEP, for him to be identified, to get any type of little bit of resources. And as y'all know, if you're not in the space of education, it's not really easy to navigate. And praise the Lord that I'm a teacher and I knew how to navigate some of the system. Well, went to my husband and said, "Hey, do you think we should move? Like, let's sell our house. Let's go somewhere else." He's like, "That's crazy. Who can do that? We can't sell our house. We've got 2 other kids." So we didn't sell our house and did some more research and found that a university in Mississippi offered a master's degree in dyslexia therapy. So instead of moving, I got a student loan and went back to
Yes.
school to help my child. So I got a master's degree in dyslexia therapy to help Thomas, and that just organically grew. Your mama heart can't tell another mama no, right? Especially if you're in the trenches and going through something difficult. And end up developing a program in a private school that was servicing over 74 students in our region. But in the meantime, private school tuition is not cheap. And we pay taxes. And if the local public school couldn't service my child, I had to put them in a private school. So in Mississippi, we have a very limited choice program called the Special Needs ESA, the Education Scholarship Account for Special Needs Children. And my son qualified for that. So we applied for that to help offset the cost of private school tuition. And I think when people talk about private schools, and y'all know this, you're in the space, people automatically think it's tens of thousands of dollars. And majority of your private schools in Mississippi are between $6,000 to $10,000, which
Yes.
are more affordable, but every little bit helps offset that cost. So we got an ESA. We're able to put him in a small private school that offered us freedom and flexibility. They allowed me to come in
Yep.
during the school day to work with him. And I ended up working at that private school, servicing all of these students that needed help. Now, fast forward to today, we are in a different part of the state, and my kids are in a, clutch your pearls, a public school. They are in a public school right now, and they are doing fantastic because I was able to customize their education needs and meet them where they were and give them what they needed at a time when the local district couldn't. So that is what led me on this path of advocacy. I am a firm believer and that you have to discern where God is calling you and calling you to lead. And there's no doubt in my heart that He gave me this dyslexic child.
Yep.
To be able to speak up and be a voice for other moms. And, God has a great sense of humor because I not only have one, not two, but all three of my children are dyslexic. So that is our journey. That's our story. And navigating this space, I quickly came upon, there aren't a whole lot of organizations out there to help families,
Right.
to educate what choices are out there, to amplify our voices, and to help navigate the space of education and education choice. So that is how Mississippi Ready was born. We launched almost 2 years ago as a platform to help educate, amplify, and navigate education for families.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I want to get a cup of coffee and sit right next to you in the kitchen.
Please do.
This is the next best thing, wouldn't you say, Becky? But I'm telling you what, Leah, it echoes so much of what Becky and I have been through. When you said you told your husband, hey, how about we sell the house? My husband came home from hunting one weekend with a for sale sign in the yard, and I had already shown the house and had 3 asking price offers. And he's like, what is going on? And I said, they're not educating him. We need to make a choice. so I can totally sisterhood relate to you. I just had to crack up laughing when you said that, but it's true. Moms will do whatever it takes. I mean, you went back to school, you got a degree, you started a program. Becky and I have done the same things. And so we can completely relate to you. And I'm just so excited to hear that we're not the lone warriors out there, that there's more moms like us. And as you would probably agree, there's probably tens of thousands of us across our nation, waiting, hoping, wanting, and burrowing through the tunnels to try to find what would work for our children. You said a lot in there. There's just so much to unpack. But one of the things that stuck with me most is that you were able to meet your children where they were at, when they needed it, with what they needed in order to be able to get them to a place where they could take advantage of your public school. And I love that statement because, obviously not a direct quote, but I love it because it's never been, and I say this almost every episode, it's not an us against them, it's a both and. The goal is whatever works for the family at the time that the family has a need, because the need is essentially the children. It's the children, and it's what the children need when they need it. And if people would put aside the arguments of, power and money and really just simply educate the children.
Yes, and I love how you said this is not an either or, this is a both and.
Yeah,
that's right.
And it's not pitting one entity against the other. It's what is the foundation of education? It's meeting children, educating children, meeting them where they are. And that is where the focus of education should absolutely be. But we have gotten so divisive. And I think society likes to pit different entities against each other. And as moms, we're not in that space. We're not doing it. I'm not interested in any of those things.
Not taking it.
We have to do what's in the best interest of our children. And I love that flexibility piece. Like, it doesn't have to be you are committed to one choice for the K through 12th grade experience. Like, you can be flexible and figure out what works best for your kids and move with that.
Yeah, well, and seasons change. As a mom, You trade one season, you trade infancy for toddler, and you have to adjust according to those seasons, and those needs change in each season.
Yep.
And that is okay. And that is what education is. It
That's right.
should be flexible and it should change with your seasons.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, Leah, this leads right into some of the things that we want to talk about today. For Mississippi, what about the Education Freedom Tax Credit?
Woo-hoo, yes.
Woo, that's right.
Right.
So if we look at each one of our journeys, this is just one more tool to put in our toolbox. I always, parents and teachers would always say, where do you get all these? I said, oh, I just carry around a Mary Poppins bag, literally, and I'm constantly reaching and pulling stuff out. And I said, I really feel like every mom has one. It may look differently depending upon, like you said, what season. If I change it into, one day it's tapestry, the next day it's a Kroger bag, you just never quite know. Maybe one day you're happy enough to have something designer. But I think that the EFTC is something that we can all wrap our heads around and say, wow, finally, we are looking at a nationwide opportunity for all children across the nation to be able to take advantage of another resource for the toolkit. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about was what it is. When does it begin? Begins in 2027. And it's a tax credit scholarship. So it's not funded by, yes, look at this map. I mean, look at this. These are the individual states that have chosen to opt in versus ones that have said no. And I want to say to both of you moms, who in their right mind would say no to their families in their states? No, I'm not going to give you an opportunity or a choice for your children. I can't wrap my head around that. Go ahead.
But taxpayers, like, you're not going to give your tax-paying citizens an option? Like,
Right.
that is, it's just like,
I know.
we don't like people, we don't like you to have options, and we hate freedom. Like,
That's right. I just don't understand it. So I'm trying to wrap my head around that. And I'm calling on, all moms and dads across our nation to stop and look at talking to your friends. I look at this. We in Ohio have a tax credit scholarship here. It's only up to $750, but my husband and I are like, I would love to be able to say where my tax dollars go, specifically to education. Like, the most important foundational concept is that we have to offer our children is to educate them well. So why wouldn't we want to be able to choose that that's where we're going to send some of our tax money? So I encourage everybody to talk to them. But let's talk a little bit about this. So with this, first of all, let's just put a disclaimer out there. The rules are still in the making. The rules have not been decided. We're hypothesizing, what could this look like? So that's our little disclaimer there, that we don't know all the ins and outs yet. We're very hopeful because it's going to happen. 2027 is the day. AFC is going to be a scholarship granting organization. We know that. That's very exciting. The amounts are not capped, and nearly all families will be eligible. That is a big thing across our nation. They're funded by donations to approved nonprofit organizations from taxpayers who receive a dollar for dollar tax credit. Leah, you said that. Who would want to say to a taxpayer, I'm not going to give you this opportunity to have this tax credit? I mean, again, I wouldn't want that title running across my nameplate. And then the maximum amount is $1,700 per taxpayer. Now, ladies, I don't know about you, but I single-handedly write a check to the government every quarter. And I just said to my young daughter, if every American had to sit down and physically write out quarterly their tax payment, I guarantee you there would be nearly zero fraud. And there would be lots and lots of individuals standing up saying, this is where I want my tax dollars to go. Yep. So I think it's really important. So for me to see that number, I'm like, I'm happy to look at that and say, tell me where to write my check to. But there's no overall cap on the amount of tax credits per state or per year. So just with that information right there of what that program looks like, Leah, what could this potentially look like for Mississippi families?
Oh, I think the potential is unlimited. Giving families another option, another tool in that toolbox to help with whether it's therapies. I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with dyslexia therapy is not covered
Yes.
under insurance. So
Right.
so many education-based therapies are not. And
Right.
I know hundreds of mothers and families that would absolutely be utilizing an SGO to help cover a lot of these expenses, because there's times when a family's at that dining room table and they have to forego therapy services because they can't afford it.
That's right.
And that is not okay with me. In America, that is not
Not okay.
We should be helping families in any way that we can. So therapy services, tuition supplementing, helping cover those. Oh my gosh, I think and I think a lot of people think, oh, it just automatically means like kids in private school. No,
No.
in a public school,
Yes.
it can help them as well. It helps all children. It doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter where you go to school. This will help every child.
Every child. I think it's amazing. And I'm glad you pointed that out, because I think that is something. I had so many students. I even had students that weren't signed up for my program, who obviously didn't qualify for a scholarship, but they would come in as helpers, and some of them needed tutoring. But
Mhm.
you know what? They couldn't get it. And so I sit there and go, this is monumental for
Yes.
families and for children. So Becky, let's take a look at this. Talk about the donors. Talk about, what does this mean for donors? Let's take a look at that.
Yeah, so starting in 2027, donors in all 50 states, in addition to Washington, D.C., can contribute to an SGO, which that, in case you're not into the acronyms, that is the Scholarship Granting Organization. I do want to differentiate that from the EAO. Tara, sometimes you and I have talked about EAOs. Those are the Educational Assistance Organizations, and those are more state-based, whereas the SGO is on a nationwide level. So we're looking at the SGOs. If you contribute to an SGO, you can receive a 100% dollar for dollar credit. And it's not a deduction, it is a credit against individual income tax. And so that's up to $1,700 per taxpayer annually. It's non-refundable. The deadline to donate is December 31st at the end of each year. You cannot earmark for a specific student, which that's common with
That's
EAOs
common.
as well. That's nothing new. But you can earmark to a specific school or a group of schools if the SGO allows. Now, I just want to remind everybody, like, these, we're still learning about the rules and such. So as of this recording, this is the information that we have, right?
Right.
The credit can be reduced by the amount allowed as a credit on any state tax return if the state has a program. So if you are really, I will be honest, I am, and most people know this, I am not a math person. I am not, definitely not a CPA or anything like that. So if you, I would encourage everybody, do your own research, talk to your accountant. If you need more information about how this works as a donor. But I think that's, I think we're giving a good starting place to give you some education on how this works.
That's wonderful. That is wonderful. I think families across the nation, once they wrap their heads around the rules as they come out, they're going to be thrilled and looking for ways that they can not only fund this scholarship, but also take advantage of it. And again, I think we should really start that telephone game on it. Once we get the rules and all the specifics, and all the nitty gritty, that we should start sharing with our friends and family and business owners, how they can share with their friends and families. I know that this is individual taxpayers, the way I understood it. So that was a little disappointing to me, but we can share that, hey, talk to those that have ability to donate, and plan
it's a win-win for everybody.
It's a win-win. Yeah.
Well, I don't know of any tax-paying citizens in our state that have to, like you said, write that quarterly check that would not participate in this. Actually, conversations that I've had since Trump made this announcement, every person I've spoken to, like, absolutely, there is that's a no-brainer. I'm going to participate, and why wouldn't I? And
That's right.
it's so disheartening to see, you see the shaded in states, and it's disheartening to see states that aren't willing to participate. At what cost? At what cost?
Exactly. No, that's a very good point, and I have been trying to rack my brain to figure out why are we trickling in like we are, but I'm thankful for those that have. Yes, look at this map. So we're getting there. We're getting
Mhm.
there, and I literally am praying for the states that are in gray, going, "Come on," and also hopeful that maybe that one little yellow state would have a change of heart, because I think that this is a great uniter, in my opinion. I think that this is a great way to unite families across the nation because it shows unity in the number one entity of our nation, and that is our children.
So
Hmm.
I
I
have a
just,
question, and I think one of you could clarify this for me. So if someone, so we're in Mississippi, so let's say someone in California wanted to donate, would they be able to participate and their funds go to another state?
I don't know the specifics on that, to be honest with you, but I have heard that question asked before. I think that's one of the things that rules are coming out on. So I know that that's up for discussion is what happens if California doesn't opt in? Are they still allowed to donate to the SGO, the scholarship granting organization, and have their funds go to another family? I know I certainly would. If that was allowed, I would be like, oh, if heaven forbid my state made that awful choice not to opt in, I would definitely, for sake of going, well, looky there, I'd like my tax dollars to go to my neighboring state.
Hmm.
Um,
Right? We're coming for you, California. Like we're gonna
that's
take.
right. We're like, quit sitting in the gray land. Let's get going. Mississippi and all the other states need some help. On the screen right now, we have the website that you can visit to find out all the specifics as we know them currently. Federalscholarships.com. I highly encourage you to go there. Becky and I and Leah, I'm sure, would agree. Do your research. Parents, information is knowledge, it's power.
Hmm.
So gain as much information as you possibly can on your own accord. We're here to help transmit as much direction to you, but ultimately, you want to make sure that you are finding out the information that you need for your family. Schools, like how will scholarships be awarded to families? Be funded, and I think there's going to be applications and deadlines associated with that. There's going to be certain materials that are needed to apply. I think that this is part of that rules package that's going to come out. My hope is that it would be much like what we have right now, where schools could opt in to take those scholarship funds and that schools would be on the ready. And Leah, you said it already. It's not just private school. It's not just homeschool. It's public school. It's all children across our nation, kind of filling in those gaps that we see. You mentioned it yourself. Your child was going to school and they weren't able to meet his needs. My child was going to school. They weren't able to meet his needs. So there was these corners that weren't being filled. And so now this is an opportunity to do that
Well, and like
very
you
well.
said, and not all entities or all systems are supposed to serve every
That's
child.
right. That's
And
right.
that's if you give parents and families those flexibilities and those options and those freedoms.
Yes,
I have faith in families.
I
I
do too.
trust parents. And at the end of the day, a parent is going to get their child where they need to be. They're going to give them the tools that they need in their toolbox. Let's make it more accessible for them.
Absolutely. So
Yes.
well said there. And again, as far as knowing what to offer, and how this is going to just be on the ready, be knowledgeable about what the rules are, schools. And if you, the parent, know details, share it with your schools. Don't be afraid to have a sit down and say, hey, let's look at this because the private school that I wanted to send my son to, they didn't know the rules at the time. So I was like, hey, listen, I'll give you everything. I just really need you to be willing to pilot a program. And they were grateful for that and decided to work together to make it happen. So I think that that's what parents need to do in order to help schools. Also, promote the opportunity. I think that's so important. We've said it like 4 times already. We're going to say it 4 more times. Promote the opportunity. Get the word of mouth. There's nothing like the buzzwords going down. I'm all about positive peer pressure. Just gonna say it. I'm all about positive peer pressure.
Yep.
So Becky, let's talk a little bit about those scholarship granting organizations
Yeah.
and what that looks like for families.
So, in order to be an SGO, you have to be a 501c3, not a private foundation. You have to spend at least 90% of the income on qualified scholarships. They do allow for a certain percentage to be taken out for administrative costs. And again, that is normal. I know some states that work with EAOs, it may be 3% or 5%. So this is not anything new or, alarming. This is just part of how it works. You must be on the annual list of SGOs submitted by the governor or the authorized state official to the Treasury Department. So there has to be that communication between the state and then the National Treasury Department. You have to serve at least 10 or more students in more than one school. You have to allow for the siblings of scholarship recipients to receive the scholarship as well. So that way it's not just 1 out of the 5 students in the family receiving the scholarship.
Right.
And, I mean, that's a no-brainer, right? You cannot earmark for specific students. And the SGO has to verify eligibility. And if somebody doesn't qualify for the scholarship, then the SGO is not allowed to award the scholarship. So again, the rules are rolling out. I expect that we'll see more streamlined information as it develops, and just be aware of the news that comes out about it.
Well, I think for Mississippi specifically, Leah, you had mentioned that they have a small special needs ESA. And I think that this opens the door of opportunity. I love the fact that the SGOs, there's some safeguards in there so that we're not, cherry picking, and we're not, playing favorites or anything like that. But I think that it really does come down to, hey, if there's not a grand opportunity for other school choice options within your state, this again is a door opener and another piece in your toolkit. Is there anything that you would like to share for Mississippi families, or for any families for that matter, any families of individuals struggling with dyslexia, or anything else that you feel compelling that you want to let listeners know?
I want listeners all over, but primarily Mississippi families, to know that, hey, you've got people in your corner. We are there with you. You are not alone. Feel free to reach out. It's just me, my computer, and my dining room table. This is actually my husband's office. And so if you message us on our social media outlets or email, you're getting me, and I will happily hold your hand and walk you through this process. But it's up to us to speak up as families, as parents. We have to speak up, because the opposition's out there. And it's an echo chamber. And what I've learned is that there are a bunch of bullies. And as mamas, we do not put up with bullies. So we have to speak up. We have to stand up, and we will help you be that voice. Follow us on all social media outlets. I use social media. I meet people where they are. Just like as a mom, we meet our children where they are. And that's where we're getting a lot of our information from, is social media. And as information comes out about SGOs and about utilizing this tax credit, I promise you, I'm going to lift it on our socials and help you get that digestible information that's not too policy wonky or boring. So Mississippi Ready is on all social media outlets, right? Y'all know I'm not lying.
Right.
No. No, it's truth. It's truth. And I love it. And we're going to work together. We're so excited to pair up with Leah. And we're so glad that she's with the fellows this year. We're very excited, because we're moms that really want to get things done. And we do not want to leave a single child behind. We know we cannot necessarily, reach every single child, but we are going to do our best to make sure that parents know that we are here and we are ready to help. And you need to do your part and reach out and ask for that help. And we'll help you as far as getting information that you need. Becky, you have any last words before we go today?
Yeah, I just keep thinking about what both of you have said about, this is not an either or, this is an and. And for people that think that school choice is a divisive topic, this new tax credit scholarship is for all students, regardless of their schooling option. It is meant to fill in the gap And I mean, to me, that is such a uniter. Like, we want all kids to be successful before they graduate.
Yes, I love it. Well, thank you, Leah. Thank you, Becky. Thank you, everyone that tuned in this evening. We look forward to seeing you on another episode of Tuesday Talks with Mom. And keep your eyes out there for this tax credit scholarship that's coming our way, because more information is to follow. Have a wonderful evening.